and here's what's happening at Ewetopia Farms today. It's actually looks like he brought in an old hay bale. The nice thing about them is that they do roll out pretty easily. And we do like using the old hay, making use of a product that has no value. Cheap, it's quick, it's easy. Arnie's literally on a roll today. Let's get started. To start off the morning, today we are going to put some bedding down in the back of this barn where the two breeding groups are. This is the barn probably that gets the smelliest the quickest for several reasons. One, it's in the old barn with the low ceilings. We do have all the windows open for ventilation and the doors too for cross ventilation. But nevertheless, it gets smelliest quickest. And not only that, this pen has cement floors, which we've discussed before. They're great for cleaning, but for sheep comfort and sheep health, they're not the best things unless you're cleaning constantly, because there's nowhere to drain. So the ammonia builds up and they get smellier and wetter quicker than our gravel sand-based floors. Here's Arnie now with his straw bale. It's actually looks like he brought in an old hay bale, and we'll get that in these pens and it'll be a lot sweeter smelling for them. The problem now is that this pen does need cleaning out, so there's a little bit of an embankment here. Want me to push your butt? One thing we do like about spreading out bedding is the round bales. The nice thing about them is that they do roll out pretty easily, and it also limits the amount of dust that goes everywhere. I don't know if you've seen other methods of putting straw out to your animals, but some people toss chunks of straw in here. Some people blow the straw in. The only downfall, if you've got allergies like me with those methods, is that it gets extremely dusty and you have to leave the barn or wear a mask. And I imagine, if you're doing that with the animals themselves, that dust isn't too good for them to breathe either. I thought I'd just replay this as all these sheep are jumping in the air to try get past Arnie. So they'll be really happy because this pen was the worst. Now we're heading into Luther's group because we had a big half left over. So instead of putting it in the back of the barn, which is a smaller barn, we're putting it in here to make optimum use of the bale. No. Okay, so literally you saw us roll out the bedding for the first pen. Took 2 minutes maybe, and this will be the same. So when you start the tasks, you always feel like, oh, you got tons to do, but if you do little jobs every day, like you don't have to do them all at once. You get everything done in a small amount of time. And even though this is labor work, when you break it up like that, it's not so bad. And because we're using old hay for this, the first thing the sheep do is they go and eat it, and that's okay because it is hay and it will give them roughage. It's not moldy, it's just a year old, so it'll be a little dusty, but it's not going to harm them. And right now it's nice and fresh. Once they've stepped on it and peed on it and pooped on it, they won't eat the bedding anymore. And that's what we don't like about rolling hay out in a field. It's okay to roll it out if you got a bunker for it, but when you roll it out in the field, this is what they do. They run out and eat it. Now, if they eat it all in the first setting, then that's good. But if you leave it and expect to feed them that, all day long. They are going to lay in it, they're going to poo in it, they're going to pee in it, and it's going to be contaminated and dirty very quickly. It's not a healthy way to feed sheep unless they clean it up all at once. And as we've said before, you don't really want them to clean hay up all at once. There should be enough for them to graze all day long at this time of year, which is going into winter, because sheep are grazers. You don't want to be feeding them once a day or twice a day. You want them to be able to nibble all day long. So if you can find some kind of feed system where they have access to it, it's perfect. So Arnie is bringing another partial straw bale over. We could easily unroll an entire bale in each pen, and it would be really thick and puffy, but there's a reason we don't do that as well. It is more labor because we have to come in the barn more frequently to replace bedding, but overall it keeps the bedding fresher if you do just little layers over top and put it out. And we do like using the old hay because it's basically free. It's surplus hay that we couldn't use. It's not really good for feeding sheep unless you're in a pinch, it's a drought, and you're really, really short of feed. So we're making use of a product that has no value, and to buy in straw is very, very expensive. So although it may appear that using hay as bedding is very wasteful and expensive, this, like I say, it's surplus. And surplus, if we weren't using it, we'd just have to give it away to someone or eventually just let it rot down. So this is good use for it. And if we only do a thin layer, again, we only have limited space when we clean the barns to put the manure before we can spread it on the fields. So we don't want the bedding packs getting ahead of us in that they are so high that the sheep can't eat properly and we have nowhere to put the manure pack. Right now our platform where we put the manure is full, and we're waiting for the beans to come off because we spread the manure on the bean fields and on the hay field that Arnie's going to be tearing down. But we're in waiting mode right now as we await Cody to come and take off the beans. And then once that's done, we're going to head into manure spreading. And at that point, any barns that have a lot of manure, we can clean them out again. Usually we clean them out again before lambing anyway. And so it kind of flows, but there's always ebbs in it as you await for custom work. Like we said in the other video, it would be great to be self-sufficient, but nowadays with the cost of equipment, you just totally can't have it all. So you're in waiting mode a lot of times. And it's hard to believe, but that's steam coming out of her mouth, out of her nose. And I don't know why, because it's a beautiful temperature this morning. But that's what it looks like in the winter. It's a preview. So if you want to know how to bed your sheep up quickly and inexpensively, if you got some nice old hay, you don't want to roll out old stuff for bedding if it's moldy or damp or anything like that. But if its only problem is that it's dry and dusty, it's cheap, it's quick, it's easy. Can't go wrong with it. And no dust. There's limited amount of dust because all hay and straw has dust, but it's not flying all over like I can see in this barn. Sometimes when we have to use the skid steer to shake out a bale because our straw bales don't roll out. If you've watched our videos in the past, it's like walking in a barn full of mist until it settles. And I don't think that's good for the sheep to be breathing that in. Now we're doing the final pen in this barn. This old barn has 4 pens in it, which are filled with breeding groups right now. 2 Dorset breeding groups and 2 Suffolk breeding groups. And the pen Arnie's working in right now just randomly ended up with all our friendlies from this year. We got Hot Lips, Diva, Angel, Looney, Thelma. They're all in this pen. And make sure when you're putting out your straw that when you take the strings off, you get all the strings, because inevitably the strings get wrapped around someone's foot, and then it's a real problem. And you know that the sheep haven't been fed yet because they're all thinking that this dusty old hay is pretty good. And it is actually really nice hay. It's a shame. But in our neck of the woods, when you have a year where you have lots of hay, you can't sell it because everyone has lots of hay. And when you're short on hay, everyone's short on hay. Because a lot of people say, well, why don't you just sell that hay? And we would if someone was in a pinch. We've got hay that they could buy, but generally, one person has a glut, everyone has a glut. That's the bad part about hay. But we never complain with having too much because, like I said, using old hay bales for bedding saves us a lot of money in straw, which costs as much or more than actual hay, which is ridiculous. It's a waste product. So we had a little bit left over. So now that the wool bags are gone from here and there's nobody with lambs right now, Arnie's just gonna store this here and roll it out next time we need bedding. There's Scotty. He's looking a little chubby these days because he doesn't have to compete with Tommy for food. Tommy used to run him off. Pippi, is that you? Hi, Pippi. Pippi's had his food, and so now he can play with his tail and get groomed. Silly boy. Hi, Pippi. Are you a little happy? I can hear you from here. You're a little happy you already ate. Hi. You're so proud. Oh my goodness. You're such a good little pussycat. Yeah, it's hard to eat and get pet and purr at the same time. You're pretty talented, and the little dance as well. Yeah. He's not really hungry right now because, like I said, he's already eaten. But he associates getting pet with eating. So that's why he's doing it. You're a funny lad. Yeah, you are. You're funny. Hi. Hi, girls. How was your hike through the mist yesterday? You look lovely. Oh my goodness. You do. How did you get so lovely? Oh my goodness, you were born that way. Arnie's literally on a roll today. I mentioned we needed straw in the replacement ewe lamb pen. Just because they got sheared off. It's not cold, but it was just, I thought it would be nicer if they had a little bit more cushioning in here. Makes it way easier for me to pet the sheep too, because I can sit down in the straw and not worry about sitting in any poop. I mean, who wants to do that, right? The sheep don't. I don't. Now it's the stampede time. It's time for breakfast. And this is their favorite cereal. Ewetopia. What do we call it? Ewetopia Flakes? Breakfast of Champions? I swear they're happiest when you put new bedding down too. Makes them twice as perky. And we have 78 ewe lambs in here, plus I think there's about 6 cull ewes. So it's 2 pails of a grain protein ration for these girls. This one you've got the protein in still, eh?
Yep.
Because these are the ewe lambs and we want them to grow to their full potential. They don't get much, but they just get a little bit to keep it up. It's almost November right now when I'm filming this video. And the sheep do have hay, free choice in the feeder. And we do this year round. There's always hay in the feeder, and we use that for roughage because they need something to be grinding away in their rumens for the rumens to function properly. I'm going to open the gates and let them out. But right now, this time of year in Canada anyway, and I'm sure in a lot of northern countries, the quality of the grass is not very good right now, and it retains a lot of water and moisture. So you can get more mucky bums that way because they're digesting more water and the nutrients going to leach out of the grasses. So allowing them to have this first cut hay here gives them that scratch or coarseness that they need, because that watery, liquidy grass is not good enough right now for the sheep. In the summer when the grasses are drier, it's great, but at this time of year it's not. However, we do like our sheep to go out in the pasture for exercise, sunlight, and to nibble at whatever nutritious grass they can find out there. So right now we're going to open the gate, and they have free access to pastures all day long. And I know that this bedding is really fresh still because I am allergic to it, and I just walked up here and started sneezing. So good sign when I'm sneezing. Hi, Big Betty. Is that really yummy cereal? Someone asked if Big Betty was going to get fat because she's eating the lamb ration. She's an old girl. She's 11 years old almost. She's in great shape, but she's not going to get fat. They have access to all kinds of feed, and because they're not super hungry all the time, like there's food in front of them all the time, that's when they actually tend to not get fat, because they know it's there all the time, so they're not gorging. When sheep are only fed like maybe twice a day, and they aren't fed again until the next day when their feeder has been empty for, I don't know, all night or longer maybe, then they come and pig out. And that's when you get bloating, gut problems, weight problems, and other health issues. Grazing animals need access to feed 24/7. That's the whole nature of the beast. So we will watch Big Betty, but I don't anticipate any problems. She's already been living in this group. This is her 2nd year, and she doesn't have a weight issue. Hi, sweetheart. You're lovely too. And like Arnie's said many times, sheep will tell you what they need. And oftentimes you'll put out some really lush feed that's really soft and really green and really moist. Or they're out on the rich pastures in the spring. And for instance, you roll out an old bale of hay like this and they eat it like it's candy. And that's because their stomachs are upset, or that they know that their stomach needs the roughage, because they do need some coarse stuff in their diet in order for it to function properly. So your sheep are not being crazy. They're telling you they need a little bit of coarseness. You don't want it all coarse because it's always a balance, but the sheep will tell you what they need. And for people who are new to the channel, we feed our sheep the way we roll out the bedding in the pens. We just place a bale at the end of the feeder and roll it out. Not too much equipment on our farm. So the rolling out of the bales can be a little tough as it starts. And they are heavy. We're not going to lie about that. But it's doable. It's cheap. And it actually takes way less time than setting up mixing machines and driving tractors around. But it's definitely harder on your body over time because it's manual labor.
No, that's a kid.
Is it?
Over here? Yeah.
It's not Alexander?
Nope. You should be out as young as it's done.
Probably. Hi. One of the black and white cats that was dropped off here last year had this kitten. Just one. That's it for rolling out bales. Catch you in the next one.